We get asked this a lot about what is the law on street feeding. Street feeding law is very simple. You feed in a manner which is very conducive. Animals you're feeding, the street dogs, as also it is very conducive to everybody around you, to yourself, to your neighbors, by an order of the Honorable High Court of Delhi, which basically laid down that you can feed street dogs, and there were certain guidelines put. The Animal Welfare Board of India came up with certain guidelines on where to feed, what to feed. So basically within every colony there are many street feeding sites which were to be set up in every colony. Boards were put up for the dog feeding sites. Honorable Delhi High Court has written to the Delhi police to look into this issue, to take further action on it, and to take immediate action on anyone harassing a citizen for feeding dogs or troubling them or restraining them in any manner. RWA is responsible to making sure that the other residents do not harass you for feeding street dogs, because RWA has to work in conjunction with AWBI to ensure that these boards are put up for feeding sites. With all this properly in place, guidelines in place, if there is a neighbor who's troubling you or stopping you from feeding, you can definitely first and foremost file a police complaint. In about 2010, the feeding law came that you feed the dogs at designated spots. Every colony has to have a designated spot. You approach AWBI for it. Your RWA can assist and help identify spots, and you have multiple spots. Basically, if there is no designated space in your colony, then you should try to feed in by lanes, places which are not very frequented. Try to keep it early morning or keep it late at night. All feeders should try and keep a AWBI feeder card with them. There was the dog feeding detailed judgment of Justice Midda of 2021, which put to rest all controversy on how people are to feed street dogs and what the right of the street dog is, because it basically reiterated the Nagaraja judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, which said that animals are sentient beings. Animals have constitutional rights. Your Article 21 is also, that is your right to life and liberty, is also available to animals. They have a right to shelter, they have a right to food, they have a right to be treated well and not being ill-treated, they have a right to medical aid. So basically it recognized that, and the Honorable High Court's ruling reiterated that. Initially, the Honorable Supreme Court sort of stayed the Honorable Delhi High Court's ruling on dog feeding guidelines and everything. But thereafter, notice was issued, parties appeared before court, and once they appeared, the controversy was put to rest, and the challenge to this Honorable Delhi High Court's ruling was set aside. So ABC program is to be followed strictly. It sort of mandates that all dogs on the street should be sterilized so that you can control the dog population in a humane way. As far as feeding is concerned, the law is very clear. You have a constitutional right to feed. You have under 21, Article 21 and Article 19(1)(a). You have a constitutional, you have a fundamental duty towards animals, basically your environment. Under 51(a), you have absolute rights to feed. Nobody can impinge on your rights. Your RWA is mandated to cooperate with you and also participate in this taking care of street dogs. Dog feeding is established as your constitutional right. Recently there was a lot of controversy. That was more a misunderstanding and less a actual issue to be decided. So today, as on date, the entire guidelines, ruling, detailed judgment of the Honorable Delhi High Court of 2021 stands as good law. So there is no controversy on that. Going through the judgment will really help, because as a feeder, it is important to go through it to know your rights and to know how to go about this in the right way. Today the position is this, that there are intricate guidelines. You can get this guideline absolutely available on the AWBI website. If you have any questions on this, any issues, you can write to us at the captioned email below, and we'll be happy to help you in any way.